All right, so it's time to test our foam core skills. The project we're going to use for that is going to be making this little guy, which I call the Peanut Catapult. And so it's pretty fun. Can shoot some small objects pretty far. So let's use what we've learned about foam core to make one. As you can see, I've already got my layout planned on this big sheet of foam core. And we're just going to jump right in. The different tools that I'm going to be using are a glue gun, our utility knife. I've got a set of cutting mats in a row so that I can cut these long edges. I'll have a long straight edge to help me do that as well. We'll go over using the Exacto board cutter again. I've got some rubber bands. And finally, I have a center punch for making holes. If you don't have a center punch, any other sharp object will do as well. Even something like a pencil will make its way through the foam core. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is start making our way through these lines. So we're going to cut them with the utility knife, which is nice and sharp already. And I'm just going to line my straight edge up. And I'm just going to take my time and go ahead and make multiple passes through the foam core so that I can cut all the way through. Okay, there's that one. Shift this around over here and line it on up. Okay, get that piece out of the way. Let's go ahead and make a similar cut on this side, right here. So you want to remember, keep an eye out for your fingers. And taking multiple passes allows you to use less force. So that's a good idea, because if you end up slipping up, less force means you're going to do less damage to wherever you're accidentally cutting. All right, beautiful. Scraps out of the way. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. My blade is kind of dull, so I do have a few more cuts to make, so I'm going to snap it. Remember, you can do that by lining up the right edge for making the snap. Go ahead and take one of these scrap pieces to cover it up, and just go ahead and snap the blade. I can go ahead and toss my sharps over here. All right, onward. The next thing that I want to do is clean up this edge. Okay, the next thing that I want to do is make some notches down these lines right here. And that way we can glue it up and we'll form the upper triangles that kind of support the rest of the little mechanism. Okay, so to get those cuts, first we're going to do it with the utility knife, and then we're going to explore doing it with the Exacto board cutter, just so that we can practice both ways. So in order to do it with the utility knife, the first thing I'm going to do is line my straight edge up along where I want to get the notch, and then I'm going to shift it over a little bit, because if I want to cut in at a 45-degree angle, then I actually need to be slightly off from where I want the bend to take place. So now that I'm slightly off, I'm just going to use the utility knife to just score the top piece of paper. Nice thin score. And then I'm going to shift to the other side. Move this over here. Go an equal amount of distance to the other side. And then we're just going to score again. Nice light score. Okay, great. Now, I'm just going to angle my blade at 45 degrees. Insert just enough to get down to the bottom piece of paper. Remember, I don't want to cut all the way through. And I'm just going to go ahead and slide my knife right down that score. All right, then I'm going to flip my part over because it's easier for me to approach this way because I'm right-handed. And we're just going to do a similar thing right down the edge of this score. The blade should kind of find its way down to the center. And then we should just be able to pull out the piece. I actually need to make another little tiny cut right here. Okay, and now that notch is pretty much ready to go. Awesome. So now let's do the same thing, but with the Exacto board cutter. So at first, I actually don't want any adjustment guide on, so I'm going to take that off. And I'm going to do the same thing, where I'm going to use the straight edge and make a score mark on either side of where I actually want the bend to take place. So we'll go ahead and shift up, maybe right about there. And we'll gently score the paper. Okay. And move to the other side. Gently score. This time I'm going to make this little extra cut right away. Just a tiny little cut. That's going to help me remove the notch material when I'm done. And now what I want to do is put the guide back on, and that's going to help me cut at 45 degrees. And now I'm going to slide my blade right down that score mark, just making sure that I don't have the blade extended far enough to cut through everything. I want to leave that bottom paper intact. So let's go ahead and do the first cut. Okay. I'm actually going to run through that again just to make sure that I got the depth I want. Flip the part over and do it again. This time following the second score mark. All right, let's take a look. So they didn't quite intersect. I actually think I need to go over this one again. It's a little closer. All right. And we'll go ahead and peel this up. So it looks like I still need to get a little closer on this edge. And peel off the excess on the frayed little edge here. And we're all set. Go ahead and retract that blade. And now both of these sides are ready to go. Beautiful. Kind of got a little stingray going on here. Anyway, back to the catapult. The next thing we want to do is go ahead to the back. Now I'm just going to make some notch cuts right here. One right along this edge. And that way, this is just a little bit of a quicker way to make a bend right along here. Okay, I'll grab the utility knife. And this time I want to go through the top layer of paper and some foam. but I do not want to cut all the way through. And then what I can do is use that to kind of guide a bend.